necesidades ajenas no sienten mi pena. Nadie nos dará gobierno, majestad. Las necesidades ajenas no sienten mi pena. Que allá donde no había, no solicito permiso para la vida. Soy rica en esperanzas y de reto no me niego. Le daré vista hasta el más ciego. Soy rica en esperanzas y de reto no me niego. Estoy aquí, estoy aquí. Y de reto no me niego. Estoy aquí, estoy aquí. Estoy aquí, estoy aquí. Yo veré, no me encierro. Estoy aquí, estoy aquí. Conocí, siempre hay manera. No más necesito un terrenito, una parcela. Hay bastantes, sobran ejidos robados y prestados. El vivo sigue de pie, no como el muerto acostado. Ay, esas cumbres, cómo brillan, llamando la atención. A través del mundo aumentan los hogares de la mina y carbón. Allá donde no había, no solicito permiso para la vida. Soy rica en esperanzas y de reto no me niego. Le daré vista destroying. And if you've heard this story, you know more pain than glory. Oh, pillow people. Oh, pillow people. Dreaming, dreaming, dreaming dreams, prayers slowly lifting on the pillows in the valleys, on the bestia drifting. Milagros santos, muchos love, elder persinadas, a sick return, a miracle, new peregrinadas. The oracle said miracle, yeah. History at its pinnacle, yeah. The oracle said miracle, yeah. Dreaming is the pinnacle, yeah. And if you heard this story, you know more pain than glory. And if you've heard this story, you know more pain than glory. Oh, yellow people. Oh, yellow people. Oh, yellow people. Oh, yellow people. Yeah. bridge of hope for our lives. Particles or dense electrons, rays of hope are soaring through the sky.
Welcome to Trek Table, your Sunday weekly podcast holding Trek space for
Black, Indigenous, Brown,
women of color,
queer or otherwise,
and our allies. Hi, I'm your host, Dayla, and today I'm holding Trek space for Book, Gray, Tilly, and Adira as they all continue to forge their own paths.
Hi, I'm your co-host Maya, and I'm holding Trek space for all the educators and students in the home stretch of their learnings and trying to make their way in this wild anomaly-like times.
I'm your co-host Maya Mama, and today I'm holding Trek space for friendships, new ones and old ones.
And hi there, I'm Lulu, tethering to this Trek table from the Caribbean coastal area in Honduras, and I'm holding Trek space for the discernment to recognize when a path ends and the courage to move on to a new path when that time comes.
Yes, and we want to welcome everybody to the Trek Table. We want to start by acknowledging where our teams are. We honor that Lulu is calling in from the coastal lands of Honduras. We also know that here in the United States, our teams are on the unceded lands of the Tongva, the Chumash, the Quiche, the Ohlone, Puyallup, Pawtucket, and Massachusetts people. We are grateful for the Indigenous stewards of these lands, the ancestors who have come before, and those who are here now, and those who have yet to come. We invite our listeners and our viewers to also check in and see whose land are you on and acknowledge that as well. I want to invite everybody to go ahead and breathe in that land acknowledgement and go and take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And we want to say thank you all so much for joining us today as we hold Trek Space for Women of Color here in front of our live digital audience on the Outside In Theaters YouTube channel, as well as all of those who are listening to us on our podcast.
Our opening track is titled Chicana Skies by the band Quetzal off their album Quetzal. You'll be hearing several tracks by Quetzal throughout this episode of Trek Table. Follow them at Quetzal Music on Instagram and see our show notes or the chat for a link to their merchandise and more.
Thank you, Maya. Yes, and we want to welcome everybody to episode 35 of the Trek Table. Thanks so much for showing up for this conversation with women of color. We are assembled here today to discuss our own feedback, review, inquiries, and insights into Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 3, Choose to Live. We're so excited. This table is gathered. We are ready to talk about it. As we prep, there were so many things we want to talk about today. We're going to talk about justice, the body, and the power of your path and how it's impacted both Discovery and our guest this week. So we're going to unpack the politics, personalities, and perspectives that make us wonder if restorative justice is something that will ever happen in the Trekverse. We'll also explore how Dr. Q Culber is standing by to help Gray's incorporation procedure go. Maybe we'll see Guardian Z and get all the space poppy vibes as we talk about this remarkable storyline and all the things that are important about it. And finally, we're going to look at that idea of paths as we see both the literal and metaphorical moments in this episode for characters like Giovanni, Tilly, Saru, Stamets, Book, even Burnham and Mama Gabrielle. So many great things today on this show. We hope you will stay with us.
Yes, and if you're as happy as we are, the Trek Table is holding space for disco and other Trek fans. We invite you to share that joy with us and become a supporter on patreon.com/Trek Table.
Yes, and we're so glad that you are joining us for this BIWOC, Black, Indigenous, Women of Color Trek conversation. We want to say hello and welcome. And so that we can build with you, we want to know, how do you enter this conversation? Are you a Star Trek fan? Do you identify as Star Trek curious, a newbie, OG Trekkie, Star Trek family, Star Trek fans, Trek zaddy, Trek baby? We want to know. Maybe you're making it up. We love it all. We don't do it to make it a gatekeep. We make it a way to invite everybody to join us. Let us know how you identify in the chat. Okay, and today we are back with Trek Table episode 35, Star Trek Discovery season 4, episode 3, Choose to Live. That is our deep dive today, and we are going to dive into this episode a couple different ways. We're going to talk a little bit about the Trek Table questions. Claudia's not here today, but I've got some Trek Table questions. We'll play popcorn recap the best we can with this chunky episode. Maya Mama's here with Discovery Design. I've got some stuff to braid it all together with thematics. The team is here to share some signal boosts. We got final thoughts, and of course, gratitude. We're so excited to have everybody here. And as we continue our practice, we want to, right before we jump into this conversation, we want to kind of welcome some folks and know who are we talking to. So I want to invite folks to go around, share your name, pronouns, a visual description, any access check-in, and finally, how do you enter as a Star Trek fan? And since I've asked the question, I'll go first. What's up, everybody? I'm Dayla. My pronouns are she, he, they, and Dayla. Visually, I am sitting in front of Burnham's ready room right now on this gorgeous 70s couch. A little bit of left and right with, you see, Grudge behind me. Mixed race Filipinx person. I got my curly hair going on today, a little bit of blue if you can see it in the light. My access check-in is that I am sipping on some water, trying to stay hydrated. And I identify as a poly sci-fi fan whose primary love right now is Star Trek Discovery. I'm so glad to be here. Maya, can I invite you to go next?
Yes, hi, I'm Maya. I go by she, her, hers pronouns. I am a Latinx Guatemalan mestiza. I am wearing purplish lipstick. Also, my glasses also happen to be somewhat purplish magenta, as well as my hair. It's not on purpose, it just happens. And I am most of my access needs are met. I've got some tea, green tea. It's got lots of antioxidants in it. And I identify as a Star Trek fan, sci-fi curious. And I'm also wearing my Two Spirit Powwow t-shirt from 2019 and some dark blue eyeshadow in honor of Gray's journey in this episode.
Great. Welcome, Maya. Thank you so much. Maya Mama, can I invite you to introduce yourself to our Trek Table assembled in the chat?
Yeah, hi, I'm Maya Mama. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a youngish looking middle-aged black woman. I'm wearing my blue disco t-shirt and pink and gold eye makeup with a red lip. I have a red headband with a little TNG era insignia on it, and I'm from a generational Trek family, and I identify as pan or omni sci-fi.
Okay, all the things. Welcome back, Maya Mama. We're so happy to have you. And of course, today we are super excited to have our guest return. Thank you so much, Lulu Matute, for coming to us live from the Caribbean coastal part of Honduras. Welcome. Can I have you check in and let everybody know who you are and how you entered this convo?
Hey, thank you, Trek Table, for having me back on the show. Lulu Matute, I identify my preferred pronouns, she, they. Visual check-in, I am wearing a black shirt with flower patterns. Behind me is a schematic of the Starfleet ship. I currently identify as hot. It's very hot down in the Caribbean coast. I'm coming to the table as poly flirty Trekkie baby. So I'm new to the world. I'm new to the multiverse, but I'm loving it. Yeah, ready to get the conversation going.
Okay, poly flirty Trekkie baby, I love it. We're gonna add it. We might add it to the little names and cards. This is awesome. Welcome everybody. Welcome to all our friends in the chat. What's up, Caroline? What's up, Satterfield H? See you. There's a lot of friends there today, so we're so happy. Continue, please, to tell us how you identify. We're so happy to learn about longtime Trekkies and all our friends there. So we want to say thank you. Our final bit of business before we jump into these discussions today, we want to name our Trek Table agreements.
Welcome all who enter, whether you be a newbie or raised in a trekking family. Welcome. Let's build this space together.
Whether you use Trek Table as your nerdy exploration or as part of your self-care ritual, Trek Table is a weekly space to put down the world for a second and come into Trek space.
This is a space for Black, Brown, Indigenous women of color to be a fan, a geek, a nerd, and explore the vastness of the Star Trek multiverse.
Trek Table is also a place for allies to come engage and explore with us as well. This is an opportunity for allies to hold space and focus on insights, perspectives, and experiences that we may not be familiar with.
Yes, and now that we are all here, we want to remind everybody that we seek to build an environment of mutual respect and listening. We understand that we'll disagree, and this is part of the fun, but there's enough hate going on out in the world, and we don't want it here. So reminder, keep your phasers on stun.
Great. Let's breathe those agreements in. Breathe in and out.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. All right, here we go with Trek Table question number 1, posed to our Trek Table assembled here, and those friends participating in the Outside In YouTube chat. First question. Stamets calls it the DMA, the dark matter anomaly. What would you call it instead? Or, bonus, what else could the DMA stand for?
Mira que regresa el maldito. Viene con las manos llenitas de piedra que no quiere arrojar.
Awesome. And we are back here at the Trek Table with Trek Table question number 1 to the table assembled and those here in the chat. Stammet calls it the DMA, the dark matter anomaly. What would you call it? Or bonus, what else does DMA stand for? All right, I'm going to go to Maya first. Maya, what else could we call it? Or what's your version of DMA?
I think it's actually a new kind of degree that, after being here, maybe even visiting the Navarre Institute, it's a degree that you can get called Director of Mischievous Arts. And I think I'm working on that one currently.
Okay, I love that. I love that. Friends in the chat are giving us some answers. Satterfield H is saying it doesn't mean anything. The DMA doesn't mean anything. All right. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Satterfield. Maya, Mama, I'm coming to you. Do you have a different name to call it, or are you giving me a new acronym for DMA?
I do. That was a really good one, though. DMA is it's a new electronic punk folk music, like club music, and it stands for the DNC Music Authority, or it's a TikTok trend.
Okay, all right. We got some new things. All right, TikTok. All right, Lulu, I'm coming to you next. I see there's some more things going on in the chat, but before I go back to this chat, Lulu, do you have a different thing you would call this anomaly, or what does DMA stand for you?
Yeah, I thought about this long and hard and arrived at dimethyltryptamine session. So continuing the psychedelic connection from the mycelial network and spores, what if we just kind of build on DMT and it's kind of something there. So it's a naturally occurring in plants and animals and the live ingredient in ayahuasca. So that's DMA for me.
I love it. We're going back, indigenous connections, all the things, right? Mycelial, it's foundational on this show. Our friends in the chat, Dichos de un Bicho, saying we should call it the UTI, the unnecessary trauma inducer. That's what this gravitational anomaly is. I'm sure the writers projected a couple things. When I was watching the show, I thought DMA stood for dark hole. I didn't even know what the M was. I got all caught up in it. So I appreciate everybody helping us explore what this is. Friends in the chat we haven't heard from yet. What would you call this anomaly instead of the DMA? Or do you have a different, acronym spelling out for us for this DMA? And that was Trek Table question number 1.
Oh, I just came up with another one. The mystery, but I can't remember what the A would stand for. It's the mystery. I don't know. Anyway, Trek Table is proud to be a part of a digital theater platform at Outside In Theater. Like and subscribe to Outside In YouTube channel for our weekly live digital recordings. And listening on the podcast, check out youtube.com/outsideintheater. And with this song, Matanzas by Quetzal, we know it's time for dun 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 popcorn recap. The game is simple. We have 2.5 minutes to share the chunklets of plot from this week's episode.
Yes, and today we're going to talk about Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 3, Choose to Live, written by Terry Hughes Burton and directed by Christopher Byrne.
We think it's funny because Maya and Lulu are Star Trek newbies. I come from a generational Trek family, and Dela loves minutia. Can we get it done? Brandon, let's try 2.5 minutes on the clock.
We could do.
Incoming transmission.
Somewhere in space, a Starfleet ship is robbed of dilithium and a Starfleet officer is murdered. Burnham shows up for a meeting with the Federation President, Rilek, and Admiral Vance, and President Trina of Navarre. And oh, the Quat Malat, and here is Mama Gabrielle, must handle this next mission with cultural sensitivity.
Meanwhile, Tilly catches up with Saru in the mess hall. She discusses needing to try new things outside of her comfort zone. You know this is sci-fi because who doesn't like chilies? Can she water Saru's plants? Yeah, but not the Kelpian swamp blossom. Saru will later tell Burnham to take Tilly on the away mission.
Meanwhile, Burnham has to go find books so she can borrow his ship. She flirts a little, but then his grief emerges. So then she tries to change the subject. What's Stamets working on? He has a new theory. It's a primordial wormhole, but he can't find the tachyons. Burnham says, don't worry, go to the Navarre Science Institute. Book's gonna go too.
Meanwhile, Dr. Hugh Culber is overseeing Gray's bodybuilding based on Dr. Noonien Soon's design used by Admiral Picard. Guardian Z is overseen via Neuralink, and Adria is freaking out and can't feel Gray anymore.
And then Burnham and the badass lady away team head out to Giovanni, and on the ship, Sister Gabrielle reminds us to follow the Quat Malat ways. Only swords, no phasers. Mama Burnham explains that she was once Giovanni's lost cause. And once they arrive, the coordinates, Giovanni teams attacks and kills the other Quat Malat away team member. And Giovanni appears and asks them all to choose to live and leave, but they don't.
They then transport to the surface of the moon onto a cryostasis ship carrying life forms heading to a new planet. The species is Giovanni's lost cause. Tilly disables the ship's engines to draw Giovanni out and away. Burnham and Sister Gabrielle and Tilly try to engage with her then.
Elsewhere, Stamets and Book are on the Navarre Science Station, and the Navarre Council goes into deep meditation. They're trying to find things, and Book talks to Stamets and President Trina.
Once the council comes out of the meditation, then they're like, Stamets, you're wrong. So then they need evidence. President Trina does a mind meld with a Book. During the mind meld, they get the evidence, and Book waits and sees, and he sees one more memory, and with that, he finds peace and relief.
Adira and Colbert are shooting the shit and shooting darts, and Adira feels about Gray. Space Poppy reminds them, you are not alone. And then he walks over to the other part of the lounge to talk to Saru.
There's so much in this episode.
There was so much, and it didn't help. The Minutia helped with the prep. So everything's so great. We're almost there. I know there was a lot. So Space Poppy's in the lounge with Saru. All right, one last close this out. Maya Chinchilla, can you close this out on the Space Poppy Adira Gray storyline? What happens there after the lounge?
Well, then we get confirmation that Dr. Saru by saying to Dr. Hugh that he's doing a good job as both medical officer and ship's counselor. So he's like Deanna Troy.
He is, and awesome. Lulu, can I ask you one more thing that might happen after this in the Adira Gray storyline? I know there's a lot, but let's close out the storyline.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dira goes back to the lab to hang out with Gray and just reach for him. We're going to leave it at that.
Oh,
yes.
I like
Okay. I really just want us to end the last thing. I know that she reaches for them. Can you and then what happens? Gray wakes up, right? We're just
Not
trying to
yet.
wrap all of the
Oh, yeah.
storylines. That's all we're trying to do.
Afterwards, yes.
Wrapping all the storylines. Great. So Adira reaches out for Gray. Gray wakes up. Maya Mama, can you tell us how the storyline ends on Navarre?
Oh, so they do the mind meld. I feel it. And then they find out that there were no tachyons. So then they're like back to square one or whatever. But Book is feeling great, and that's it.
Great. And Maya, can you help us wrap up what happens with the Javini story when they take her back to the presidents?
Sure. Well, yes. So they're able to fix and solve Javini's quest. So the quest is over, so now she can be returned back to the presidents. There's some bracelets, handcuffs involved, but they kind of let her go. I don't know if that's and Burnham seems upset about that.
Great. And Lulu, one last check with you. Any last little bits for Burnham and Book's storyline at the end of this episode?
Yeah, definitely. Burnham had a long day. And shout out to Dichos de un Bicho. Blatz, hey, badass lady away team. So Burnham had a long day and she's going to go hang out. And she finds Book chilling under the Quajon forest in the bedroom. Book is feeling a little more peaceful at the moment, but we're going to see how that goes.
He's been awesome. And with all these things happening, we want to say thanks to our friends in the chat. The Badass Lady Away team seems to be the hottest new hip hop track that's about to be conceived by friends in the chat as well. We're so happy. If you want a more coherent breakdown of what happened in this episode, we always want to point you to our friend Kennedy Allen over at Women at Warp, and you can check out her act by act breakdown over there at Women at Warp.
But if you don't want to more coherent, no, I'm just kidding. And if you are having a good time and you like the way that we also break it down, let's keep this dialogue going. Like and follow us on Instagram at TrekTable, and then on Twitter as well at Trek_table.
Welcome to Discovery Design. Let's dish on the design elements that gave us all the drama this episode. So I've got some topics and I'll read them off and then we'll just invite y'all to go off. So first off, I wanted to talk about that lounge. It was so cool, so amazing. Glad to see that type of thing ending up on the ship. We got modern lines, sort of like a 60s, 70s kind of old school vibe, and these beautiful warm tones. Maya, you want to talk about these?
Yes. I'm excited that we've, the only other time I've seen them sort of chill out is when they either went to go hang out with on a away mission with the Orions, or that party, right, with I think it was in like season 1, when that other boo that we shall not be named, Ash Tyler. But yes, I mean, I'm so glad they have a place to kind of relax and chill out. It seems a little bit more like a lounge than a bar, just because the youngin is there, playing darts with Dr. C. But we shall see what kind of libations are available in this new bar lounge. And I just have to mention that I did post a picture of myself with Wilson Cruz in that lounge bar and posted it on Twitter. And basically the long story short is we're best friends now.
Yeah, it was really amazing. I just read it and I felt like I was just like, yeah, it was just beautiful. Just a really beautiful exchange.
I know. He liked my tweet anyway.
All right, Dayla, do you have anything you want to share about that?
Yeah, I just want to support. I'm actually noticing that my background image is what I think is Burnham's ready room, so it also matches aesthetically with some of the vibe that's happening in the new disco lounge. I'm also wondering, is this the couch? I need to rewatch again, but just the match of vibes. I'm really appreciating it, and I'm appreciating that we're getting a social space for people on the ship to really be able to unwind and see them in a different way than we're used to. This is a ship that needs to unwind. Zora has said.
Yes, very, very legit. And maybe we'll see some more parties, because I'd love to see some more parties there. Now let's talk about Gray's body, the building, the bio building, and or the bio printer, and that egg bed that he was just stating in. Um, you know, it kind of reminded me of a cradle almost. The
Hmm.
way, you know, also because like the way he's being reborn. And I really dug that. But like you can see
Mhm.
how he's being built there.
Mhm.
Dela, do you have anything that you want to
Yeah,
talk about?
no, I mean I definitely have the big crush on the fact that they're name dropping the Easter egg of Noonien and Soong, and that Colbert even says, "Oh, and some Admiral Picard." And I had a moment of like, "What do you mean some Admiral? And then I was like, "Oh, in Colbert's timeline, Admiral Picard is not a big deal. Colbert did not grow up with Captain Picard Day." So, I see what they're doing there. And then last, it just makes me think about from the OG Superman when Christopher Reeve Superman is like in his new ice castle, and just the way that you get that Superman kind of tube, cryogenesis tube kind of thing. So I'm thinking about those things as I see it. But yeah, I'm loving all the tech and super excited about all the visual effects for us to discover this body with Gray.
Oh, legit. So now let's talk about the neural link that sends the person into a hollow body. I keep thinking about, and I'm sorry if this spoils anything, but I keep thinking about Voyager and
Mm,
how a lot of these things that were happening, sending a person as a hologram, actually did happen on an episode to trick someone. And so it's just
Mm.
really cool to see how these like funky little ideas that crews have kind of end up being something in the future. I just really liked how that looked. And about it, Dayla, do you
Yeah,
have
no, just
something for the
excited
class?
that we've now seen it. Now that we've seen this Neuralink at least twice this
Mm-hmm.
season, I'm just curious. I feel like it also narratively means that anybody can pop in any episode as long as they're alive in this timeline, in this verse where there's a Neuralink. So I'm curious who else could pop. I mean, maybe that could be another Trek table question. Is like, who else is gonna pop up this season with the Neuralink on?
I have a question. Is the Neuralink the same thing that Stamets was using that one time before?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, before Colbert came back, it was like able to review their video voice messages or whatever. Okay, good to know.
Oh, that
Oh
it
no,
was
that
also where the video. Oh, I see what you're saying. My mama is that the same
Was
thing?
it? Was it?
I don't know. It looked the
I
same. It
don't
was little. It was round, and it was like right on his forehead, and it was like a little thing that, like a little dot that, like
like a little sticky
attached to the.
thing. Well,
Mm-hmm.
now
Yeah, I
I'm
wonder if any friends in the chat know. I see Claudia's in the chat, Satterfield's in the chat. Yeah, is that Neuralink the same one? We're talking about probably season 2,
two
episode 1, just
somewhere.
to nerd
Yeah.
out a little bit, be in the early part of season 2 when Culber's still dead.
Oh wait, no, we already know he's alive. Never mind.
I feel like if you're on season 4 with us, everything before is fair game, right? So
It
Well,
we
is.
should be able to talk about it.
for so long, we weren't able to say anything about it.
Yeah.
When we were doing season 2.
Well, I'm glad that's over because he's not dead. He's alive. He's very much here.
He's very much here, and he's
Yeah.
now a much more central part of the story, which we all love and appreciate.
And Maya's best friend. Now, I want to talk about the handcuffs that they used to I guess unnecessarily restrain Javini. I don't think she was going anywhere, but I just thought that they were so pretty and intricate. And it's nice to see that they can add a little form into function in the future. I just appreciate that. Were those um Federation cuffs, or were those the qual mulat ones?
Good question. I don't know, but also, and she was also wearing really pretty rings as well, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes. They have a lot of really
mhm.
cool jewelry and a really good look. Well, okay, so last topic we're going to talk about is the world building in Navarre. I think that they're just doing such an amazing um job just giving us additional places in the hollows, and then seeing the Science Institute. Dayla, do you have anything that you want to?
Yeah, I
add
was
on
just
that?
curious, other folks, I mean, that the way that Navarre showed up, the way the Science Institute showed up in Navarre, the way we're getting to see more of Navarre this season, I feel like because it's a vibrant planet, now we're getting, I mean, just the geometry of it, and then just the meditation, and then there's the cool, I mean, there was so much, just even when after they finished their meditation, they had their own computer station. So I just feel like everything in the future is, everything is computerized, everything is like at the touch and, you know, from your badge kind of thing. So
That
I don't know
easy
if other folks
access.
It was very
Um,
unexpected. I definitely didn't when I was like, "Oh, the institute," and it's like you get to see open, wide space, and it looks like it's on top of I don't know a vista, and then there's like a little like wevel or an egg in the middle. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look at it, but yeah, just really interesting world building, something totally different and out of the ordinary for
Absolutely.
me. I'm not sure what you all expected.
Oh no, I thought it's out of the ordinary. They kind of make Vulcan and Navarre very secretive. But thank you so much, everyone. And that was Discovery Design.
We want to give a shout out to all our podcast subscribers. Thanks so much for joining us today and any day, and for following us on Apple, Google, and Spotify, where you can like and subscribe. It helps us, and for all our podcasts. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. And as we head into our next musical break, Trek Table question number 2, just like Tilly is asking, what is something that you've tried to do to get you out of your comfort zone?
Mira que regresa el maldito. Viene con las manos llenitas de piedra que no quiere arrojar.
And we're back with Trek Table question number 2. What is something that you have tried to get out of your comfort zone? I'm going to come to you first, Lulu. Tilly's trying to go on this badass lady away mission. What's something you've done?
Recently, I tried frog legs, but I kind of always try new foods, so I don't think that counts. But wheelies, I've started picking up my bike, and that's a little scary because Obamacare, you know, I don't got the right setup, so it's risky, but it's also a lot of fun. So yeah, that would be it. That's pushing my comfort zone for sure.
Clarifying question for the audience. Are you doing wheelies on flat ground? Or are you doing wheelies off like a ledge or a curb? You're just doing wheelies?
Oh no. We're keeping this horizontal on a motorcycle. I'm not there yet. No. That's
On a
way away from my
motorcycle.
comfort zone. Yeah.
Oh, wait, wheelies. Okay, wheelies on a motorcycle. All
That
right.
still sounds pretty dangerous.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We are holding Trek space for all of that safety. All right, Maya, one thing that you're trying to get out of your comfort zone.
You know, as a youngin, I always thought about that fear and anything you're fearful of. I would try to do it because it meant the potential for growth. These days, I'm a little bit more of an anxious kitty, but I always think traveling, getting out of my immediate bubble, always kind of gets me out of my comfort zone, and then and allows me to grow in that way. So I still try to do a little bit of that.
Okay, so some traveling, some growth. Lulu, I have to say, I'm afraid of motorcycles, but I like jet skis. So I would like to try wheelies because jet skis are the motorcycles of water, right? So yes, I'm just saying, I'm trying to relate, and I don't want to. I hope you don't feel, like oh, wheelies are scary, but on water, okay, that's what I would do. All right, my answer.
It's a better
I
fall.
hope there's helmets involved.
Helmets on the water, yes, and life
Absolutely.
jacket. I love it. All right, Maya Mama, I'm coming to you before we go and review what some of our friends in the chat are saying. What's something you're doing to try to get out of your
Y'all are
comfort zone?
scary. You are scary people. I say anything new at a restaurant that I regularly go to. Because like if it's a restaurant I regularly go to, I already know what's good. And I don't want to try something and then it's bad and then I'm mad at the restaurant that I love. So every so often I did it yesterday and it was good food. So I'm happy.
Okay, all right. You're not the only one. Satterfield H likes to try new things, likes to try new food and new drinks, mainly chocolates. Brandon's trying to talk to me that aren't jet skis and a perpetual wheelie. So I see all those things. I get it. I get it. And I would just invite us to embrace this opportunity. I think this is an interesting way for the writers on the show to not only show us what's happening with these characters, but just part of why we love this Trek Table is like, what does it mean for us? How does it connect to our lives? So I thank everybody for going on that little thought adventure with us. And that was Trek Table question number 2.
We also want to thank you all for listening and watching. Head to trektable.com to get a first look at the Trek Table questions, inside scoop, and more when you sign up for our mailing list at trektable.com. Send us into Thematic Dance Break.
A shift, a move, a surge, we feel and manifest. Slide from uncertainty and logic to intent. Interminable imaginaries guided by ancestor strength. Abide by no one's government. We blow into the left more. We see more. Whose life is this for?
Yes, and welcome back. You're listening to the band Quetzal, and that was Imaginaries. One of my favorite lyrics in there is, yes, we below and to the left. That's what's up. We want to welcome everybody back. We're having a vibrant conversation in our chat still about what people are doing to come outside of their comfort zone, but we're about to jump into this thematic. So I just want to say, yes, learn how to parallel park, learn how to lead holiday rituals. Somebody even invites you to embrace your own inner Wilson, all the things.
Wow.
Yes. We're so excited. So this episode is so thick and full, and usually in thematics what we're trying to do is we're trying to braid it all together. We're trying to connect all these dots. We have 3 big topics today, and before we jump in, just our first topic is about justice, right? Burnham and the team go with Mama Burnham, Sister Gabrielle, to go and try to bring Javini to justice. So we're thinking about justice in this episode. We're thinking about the body, and we're also thinking about how to walk in the power of your own path. But before we jump into this conversation with the table assembled, I want to share a little special asynchronous video. Brandon, I wonder if you might share with us this special message from our fellow Trek Table co-host, Claudia.
Hey, Star Trek fam. I'm speaking to you from the holodeck right before I go on vacation to Riza, but I had to weigh in on this week's episode because it was so good. Y'all, the Quamalot. I have the biggest crush on their entire society. I think it's because I live in a society where those in power make all kinds of rules that apparently they don't have to follow. And also they create systems, legal systems that are full of inequity, rules that are enforced inequitably. So I really like the idea of a group of badass women that can kick butt and also never lie. And always have this fierce dedication for serving the underdog and lost causes. It's kind of amazing. Now, I'm also feeling a lot of sympathy with Michael Burnham, because Michael Burnham is all about justice, is all about making sure the right thing happens. And so within the context of this episode, you've got somebody who is murdering Starfleet officers to steal dilithium. That has to be a capitalist concern, right? And I can understand why the desire would be to enter into some kind of carceral discipline and punishment sort of performance, right? And yet at the end, we see that justice is contextual. So within the context of only Starfleet, this Quamalot person was doing injustice, but within the context of the universe, they were doing something that was fully justified. In fact, they were doing something that was righteous. I mean, I'm not sure why they couldn't find some knockout darts or something. They had to be killing folks with swords, but within the context of the episode, their actions are righteous. Now, at the end, they submit themselves to discipline and punishment by the smaller society. So they go, I will submit myself. Now that I've completed my task, I will submit myself to any carceral actions or performance you want to do with me. Now, that's partially because I think that in the United States, we often tell this story because we live in a carceral society, and we like to tell mythologies about the noble sacrifice to being jailed, kind of like Cassidy Yates in Deep Space Nine, right? The noble, I will go to jail now after I've done the thing, which makes us, the audience, like them more. That said, I would like to think that there's a twist on this formula with transformative justice, because we've got Michael Burnham at the end saying, hey, I think that this person has to, I am also acknowledging that this person murdered people and needs to go through some justice system, but I would like for us to keep this context in mind. And that felt like a nod to transformative justice. I gotta say, such a good episode. I feel like this is the kind of episode that like university classes should watch and like talk about for like philosophy or something, because it got deep. Sorry I can't be there to explore more of it with you. I look forward to watching the episode, though, from Riza.
Yes, thank you, Claudia, so much to coming in with that video transmission from Riza. There might be someone named Claudia also in our chat, so we're so happy about that. But thanks for that kind of way to open us up to think about justice. Lulu, I know you're our guest today, and I wanted to invite you to kind of jump in here and share a little bit with us about your thoughts about justice and what's kind of jumping out at you for this episode.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Claudia, for that wonderful away message. That was on point. I want to add one theme that really sat with me during the episode, and that's reconciliation. In this case, justice being used as a space of reconciliation for the Federation and the Navarre, in this dark, difficult history that they've experienced, where there's a splitting. But this moment where justice is performative, but it's also a mission that includes the Black team, right? Like, this is a moment for an act of goodwill from the Federation, for this mutual, this partnership. It's a political act of goodwill. But I also think it's an important moment because the president of the Federation like identifies and creates a distinction between leadership and mutual goodwill. Right. And that would be true for the Navarre as well. So there are moments of leadership, and when those moments converge and when they diverge are really interesting. But for this purpose, for bringing divinity to justice is very much an act of reconciliation, of goodwill, with a political purpose in mind, right? With a political agenda for doing this. And it makes me think of nation states, of countries, of communities that have experienced trauma, that have experienced transgressions where people are hurt, where people die, Central America, Guatemala, all over the world, and what it means to move forward when there's so much pain, and if justice systems become a space of reconciliation, and that often being and going beyond the initial act, but within the context of a history, of the shared history between all parties involved.
Thank you so much. Can justice systems become a place of reconciliation? I think that's a really powerful and important question for us. I think as a species right now, because of the way in which our justice systems are used so much for control and not for reconciliation or goodness or justice. Right. So I want to appreciate that. I know that when we were starting to think in the prep about how we would approach this episode, there are so many things in this episode. One of the things that I was struck by is Javini's path of meeting these Abronians, being able to receive a telepathic message. And it just struck me, the actor looked to be a South Asian woman. I meant to pull her name. We want to give props to that actor. But I felt like it reminded me of other women of color that I knew who, through their empathetic skills, are able to connect to communities or challenges or needs that other folks have, even if it's outside of themselves, even if it's outside of what they need. And so I just want to offer, like, wondering if Maya or Maya Mama, other thoughts about Javini. I don't know if it's also just justice, if you want to talk about some more about justice, or this idea that women of color leaders are able to use their empathy to connect to different kinds of situations. So yeah, open.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to jump in on that just quickly. I mean, lots to think about already. What has been said from both Claudia and Lulu. I was just thinking of what Lulu said, what it means to move forward when there has been so much pain and when we're talking about our shared history. But the thing that empathy, it also, I mean, it reminds me of places that some places that have been mentioned, but some stories that are starting to come out and constantly coming back up, at like places like Central America, for example, El Salvador and Guatemala, for example, who are also kind of trying to tell these stories of more than 30 years afterwards, staying on that mission, just like Javini on the Guatemala, staying on that mission until the mission is completed, and being able to not only figure out some way to find forgiveness and peace, but to tell that, to keep that historical memory, right? To not forget what has been done so that we learn from it. And I think that's the part that frustrates me about American history or US history, is often wanting to forget, wanting to erase what has happened because it feels uncomfortable, or it's not a heroic history. So I think that, yeah, I'm appreciative of those whatever you want to call them, some people's revolutionaries, just powerhouses, people who stay on that mission because it's the right thing to do.
That's really
Thank
well
you so
said.
much.
I also think about, what is it that we want from justice? Like, what are we asking for? And a lot of times, if you're asking for that thing to not ever happen again, I mean, Javini will never do that again. So did they? Was there in fact justice? Does she feel remorse? Is she going to reoffend? Isn't that what we want? Or is it punitive? And I I think that it just, because Star Trek often mirrors our own society, that we see the desire for punitive justice, and it's no good.
Yeah, so I want to just invite us we're going to transition out of justice. That was a big topic. I know there's a lot of things we could talk about. We've talked about justice on the show before. We'll keep talking about justice. I see it coming back, especially because Burnham is our captain now. So yeah, I want to invite everybody. Let's just take a breath in. Let's clear topic 1, yeah? And exhale. All right. I want to say thanks for that. Topic number 2 is the body. A big thing in this episode. We talked about it in design. We've been talking about it. And just that Gray's corporeal body is manifested through this technology. And we get to see Gray finally embody a body since their last trauma that actually led to Adira's transition. So I wanted to jump in here and invite Maya. Maybe Maya, you can get us started on Gray and this monumental set of moments that we're seeing with this queer found family on this show. Your thoughts about Gray and his corporeal incorporation?
Yeah, I mean, some of the actors and the writers have laid little, have specifically said what this process, or this journey towards, whether Gray will be seen, right? Adira is the only person that can actually see and feel Gray up until this point. They are partners, but they're also intimately linked in this way where Adira has, she's the one, or they are the one that that translates for Gray, right? Sometimes things get lost in translation, sometimes, and that's really heavy. But I see it as kind of like a couple things happening, like this metaphor of being the partner of someone who is queer or trans or in transition, or thinking about all these complicated parts of being trans, and being the partner that can actually see you, right? And sometimes we can see our partners in ways that other people can't, and that gives them, sometimes that when you're able to do that in a supportive and powerful way, it helps them be able to, go to the next step of whatever their journey is. But I also think what's important about this narrative is that since it's futuristic, it's sci-fi, it's fantastical, they go beyond the tropes of it just being about hardship or trauma or a coming out narrative, right? That it's joyful. I'm sure there'll be some complications in the future. That's what makes the show dramatic, but Gray gets to pick their own body, and having that agency over your own body. I mean, some of us can identify with that, not having agency over your own body, and so both of them, Gray is joyful, and Adira is a little bit fearful, fear of losing the intimate connection that they had. Now Gray is able to go off in any direction, and their relationship is necessarily going to change. But that's what needs to happen, right? For this story, and for us to be thinking about, beyond these tropes of queer trauma and coming out, and and death, right? That's not the story of Gray right now, and I'm so inspired by it, and I'm just loving on these kids. They're like the Wesley Crushers, in
They
in
are.
the future.
She literally says it. Yeah. And literally Will Wheaton has said to them, it's so great to meet other teenagers on this show, because I was a teenager on this show. So yeah, we definitely, and thank you, Maya, for bringing us to that point, because I think you're also helping us welcome this next kind of set of conversation in terms of, it isn't just about our queer tropes. It isn't just about kind of what we're hoping Trek is not going to do. But even we're seeing a connection in the chat. Claudia's in the chat and is also saying, deaf culture connection, and the way that a partner is translating and mistranslating. And Claudia, it's almost like you were at our prep view this week, even though you weren't. Because that's actually what I felt like I saw. I saw the way Adira was translating for Gray, and I could imagine so many other people saw that too. And I wonder, Maya Mama, if you could just check in here with us a little bit about some of your thoughts that you were having, seeing the way that Adira didn't always say the actual words. I mean, Adira didn't always say the exact words that Gray was saying. Right. Adira was trying to translate essence, not actual reflective listening. So I wonder your thoughts about that, from some of your perspectives.
At one time I worked with people who communicated in different ways, including nonverbal communication, using boards, using sign. And oftentimes, especially when you're communicating in ways that can be interpreted because another person doesn't understand them, sometimes you would see confirmation bias, you would see misreadings, you would see partial translating, like giving someone the gist. And I did feel at a couple of times that, and I just feel like when a person is not experienced or trained with that, they don't always know that you should say everything that the person said. So there's no blame or anything. I just thought that it was just an interesting thing, because I was like, oh, that's not all he said. He said a lot, and it was like he's grateful.
Yeah, I appreciate that breakdown so much, and I think about that too in terms of like the times when we're trying to also witness our partners or think about our partners, connecting a little bit back to what you were saying, Maya, as well, but just when we are trying to communicate with folks and say that they are heard, say that that I heard you, I see you, I feel you. Sometimes in human relations work, it's about trying to make sure that I can reflectively listen and accurately reflect what that person is saying. So I just invite folks to consider what are the ways sometimes that we might try to be helpers, but we discover we're actually not helping in the ways that we think, right? And I think this is a really interesting moment for allies. I felt this as an ally when I saw this episode. So I just invite folks to connect to this. All right. So I want to say thanks for that. I know there's lots of other things we could talk about in terms of the body. We are hoping that as the season progresses, we're going to continue to see what it's like for Gray to be in this body, and maybe also what it's like for Adira as their partner, and Colbert and or Stamets as their found family, helping them to navigate these new things and what might transpire given that they are now both embodied spaces, both Adira and Gray. And that was a lot of things for topic number 2. So I want to invite us to go ahead and just take a breath for all that. And feel free to go ahead and take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And this final topic today is more of a reflective one. I'm going to invite, if the table wants to just share, we're thinking about characters' paths today. We're thinking about, there's obviously a lot of messaging in this episode. Mama Gabrielle literally says, Sister Gabrielle literally says, this is part of a larger saying. It's not just choose to live. It is this part of your path has come to an end. Choose to live. So I want to just jump in here and check in about people's paths. We saw Book have a path that got him to Navarre, that got him to President Trina. That mind meld looked like it might re-traumatize him, and he suddenly emerged on the other side, not re-traumatized, but in a different moment. We're seeing the way Javini and her path is happening and unfolding. So I just want to jump in here. Maybe we've talked a lot about Javini, but what about Book and Trina? Any President Trina? Any thoughts here? Maya Mama, I wonder, do you have something?
I just love he's from Quajon, so is he Quajonian? Is that I haven't really heard them
that sounds
say
right.
anything. So well, it's interesting because Book's race and Trina's race, they have a very similar relationship with emotions, but they chose different paths on how to handle them. Even a mind meld is a form of, like, I would say, intense empathy. And even after when the mind meld broke, Tarina seemed affected to me, because she feels deeply, she feels gigantically, which is why she has to be so logical. I just thought it was really interesting. There's sort of the same sides of this. They're opposite sides of the same coin. They're all emotion, and yeah, and I think it's kind of beautiful how they complement each other. And I hope they're best friends forever. And I want to see the spinoff
Of Book and President Trina. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, there are several amazing things that we could talk about here. I want to say that I'm hoping, first, thanks for connecting us to Book's path and President Sharina. I want to say this episode is a lot of also Tilly trying to seek a path. So I want to leave us open for coming episodes of Trek Table for us to be able to unpack what we're about to see, what I'm guessing we're about to see in Tilly's journey. Because of the way that she asked these questions, Saru is connecting to her. And I just want to say that, as is the case often with thematics, we're running out of time because there's just so many juicy things to say. And as we love to say on this show, I think first coined by Claudia, Star Trek Discovery rewards a rewatch. So we look forward to having that chance to think about it. And with all these things and more, I just want to say thanks so much to our friends in the chat for asking these questions, being on this journey with us. And that was thematics today for Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 3, and Trek Table Episode number 35.
Continue the conversation with us by joining our Trek Table community on Discord. Find the link in the episode notes or in the chat.
Yes. And as we head into our final Trek Table question number 3, this show is almost over. We want to ask a fun question. Did you notice that Book and Burnham have that hollow above their bed? They had that Quajon forest. If you had that same feature, where would you program it to go and relax? Awesome. And we are back with Trek Table question number three. If you were Book and Burnham and you could have a hollow above your bed, what would you do? Where would you go to relax? I'm going to jump back to Maya first. Maya, where would you go? Where would your hollow be above your bed?
You know, I was just so happy for that moment for him, because yeah, he's been through a lot. He just was reunited, and yeah, and the loss, and it made me feel like, you know, sometimes everything isn't all healed, but sometimes you just need a hollow over your bed. And you know, I listen to ocean waves, so I would have some really intricate, like, you know, ocean waves just anywhere with really clear water, and you know, that to me is I love digging my feet into the sand. So if I could feel that warmth too, feel it on my toes, can you do that in the hollow? If so, I want that.
Okay, love it. Ocean waves, warmth in the sand. Lulu, where would you? What kind of hollow would you construct? If you had this
Yeah,
power.
definitely water. So it'll be a bright, colorful coral reef, or deep blue among like pods of sleeping whales, right? And just kind of hanging out with the whales, snoozing. That would be a really peaceful place, and yeah, yeah. I would also like some sound though.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In the chat, I'm seeing a little bit that Satterfield H might be a little bit like Barkley on the holodeck. Shouts out to Next Generation. And Claudia is probably gonna switch up the Zoom backgrounds, get some sunflowers and some sunsets. Maya Mama, what about you? What are you gonna put on that holo?
So I'm from Montana, and I would have it like just the sky at night, in the winter. I don't like the cold, but the stars are so clear when you go out to the woods, and in the middle of the winter, it's beautiful and peaceful, and that's where I would like to be.
Okay, all right. And we're getting some hearts on screen, all the things. Fam, we continue to wonder, where would you make this hollow in your space? How can you find relaxation? I would say I'm definitely a water sign, but more and more I've really been drawn to wide open spaces. I was in the desert recently and just really drawn. I'm a water sign. I hate heat, but wow, the desert, wow, big open space, wow, big open land. And just those moments of knowing how small, you know, I really am, how small we really are, and just really wanting to connect to the larger power of the universe. Um, all right, so last two things from our chat. Some folks would go to either a dark sky, star-filled sky, or maybe to go to Utah to see Dead Horse State Park, maybe the Andromeda Galaxy. One of the places that someone is happy to go, Satterfield is happy to go to the dentist. It's a happy place. Or are you saying you go to your happy place when you're at your dentist, Satterfield? See, all the things are possible. And I'll just shouts out to dentists. Shouts out to dentists. You know,
Dude,
your
yes.
offices are happy places too. And finally, we want to give it up for Dichos de Un Bicho. They would put up a hollow of their courtyard of their mama's home in El Salvador during a rainstorm. So yes, all the things. We're so happy. And you know, all those things tell us that was Trek Table questions for all of this episode. Trek Table number 35. Trek Table episode 35. Thank you. All right, we are coming to the end of this episode, and we are in Signal Boost. We strive to hold space for Black, Indigenous, Brown, women of color. And here are some of the resources that we want to amplify and highlight the work of women of color content creators, community builders, and world shapers. We have 3 today, and I'm going to invite Maya Mama to share the first with us.
Thank you. So Trek Table is super excited to pump queer artist and maker Kiki Rivera, who is appearing on Tugu After Dark, Utopia Washington's up-and-coming digital late-night talk show, where they get to know some of our amazing queer and trans Pacific Islander siblings and cousins. The episode airs on Monday, December 6th. That's tomorrow, on 9 p.m. At Pacific time. You can view on Facebook or on YouTube, and we're going to put the link in the chat.
Yes, and I'll take the second signal boost. We want to go back and pump our friends at All My Relations, the podcast hosted by Matika Wilbur, who's Swinomish and Tulalip, and Adrian Keene of the Cherokee Nation, where they explore their relationships to the land, to their cretorial relatives, and to one another. Their latest episode just came out, and it's called Lies Your Teacher Taught You. The truth about Thanksgiving. We're gonna put that link in the chat. You can also visit them at allmyrelationspodcast.com/podcast is where you're gonna find that podcast list. And we want to share that. And our final signal boost of the day, Maya, can I invite you to share with our listeners?
Yes, for sure. We have for you created a holiday gift guide on our Trek Table Instagram and Twitter, ideas for what to give Star Trek and sci-fi fans in your life, especially from independent artists. A feature vendor is making hard enamel pins of Michael Burnham. You can choose between the normal jacket, burgundy red, or special pastel pink. Check the chat for links to our holiday gift guide for this vendor and more.
If you have a woman of color content creator, world builder, or change maker you want to amplify, let us know in our DMs at Trek Table or at Trek_table. And that was Signal Boost.
Awesome. And we are back. We want to say thanks so much, everybody, for joining us for this episode 35 of the Trek Table. As is the case at the week for us at the end of every episode, we want to kind of go around the table and have some final thoughts. I'm going to invite our friends active in the chat. We want to hear your final thoughts about this episode as well. So let's go ahead and I'm going to invite Maya to go first. Your final thoughts on Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 3, Choose to Live.
Yeah, this episode was a little, the first two episodes of this season were all action, boom, 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 and this one kind of is taking some steps back, laying some foundations for questions I have. I'm thinking about, there's going to be some conflict here where right now things seem chill, so I'm just, I'm looking forward to seeing more of Book's journey. His romantic relationship with Burnham, but also he's not Starfleet. He's his own dude, but he's also able to be supportive of his partner and be present for her. And he was that way at the beginning when they finally came together in the last season. But now it's sort of his turn to kind of, he's struggling, and I'm appreciating what's going to happen for that, because I think it's okay to struggle, and he's showing us that, and sometimes you don't want to talk about it, and sometimes you get just a little bit of breath. You get to see that image of his nephew that he really needed to kind of see to give him a little bit of peace. So super appreciative of that, as well as Gray and Adira's journey and the found family of Stamets and Culber. I feel like things are a little bit peaceful for them right now. So I think that I'm just waiting for the drama to, something else is going to happen now. Now that has completed. But like I said, I think it's really powerful to see this represented in the future, that we exist in the future, in all these different forms. So looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Maya Mama, your final thought for Star Trek Discovery Episode 3 from Season 4?
Yeah, I really love all the relationship building, and the I think that's a lot of what this episode was about, whether it was friendship with friends or with partners, with your and I just thought it was beautiful, and I loved it, and that's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you. And our guest, Lulu, thank you so much for joining us today for this complex conversation, letting us kind of hang out and have some fun. Your final thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, definitely. My final thought is also what I'm taking away from the episode. And that's the the critical need for us to look inside ourselves with absolute candor in order to be able to identify when that path is up, right? Like, okay, that's the end of that journey, right? And when we're honest with ourselves, then we're able to discern where we are along that path and when it's time to step off, go somewhere new, and choose to live. And Tilly also asked the question of, is dying a metaphor? And it absolutely can be, right? Because you can continue on a path that doesn't serve you, it doesn't serve us. So that recognition of work, partnerships, commitments, whatever the case may be, we only know when that time is up, or how to check with ourselves only when we're being completely honest and true, that we're able to recognize and discern.
Mm. Thank you so much. Um, mm. Appreciating everybody. I will share my final thoughts. I think I'm inspired by this idea of choosing to live. And I'm inspired by this moment. We're here in season 4, episode 3, because all of those moments in previous seasons when Burnham chose to live, when Burnham chose to get up. And earlier this week, one of my friends sent a little TikTok video of 3 Black women talking to the viewer, and is like, "Are you having a bad day? You can't have a bad day." And just this like deep self-love way in which women of color take care of each other, the way in which we all build community, and the way that we try to make sure when those connections are strong, the way that we can really watch out for each other and be present when things are not right. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate the way Saru was able to see what Tilly needed and how that could also help Burnham. And I appreciate that Book is finding support, not just from his female partner Burnham, but he's got this growing friendship and connection to Stamets. So we have the scientist who's the least emotional, although he's hecka emo, which we all know. But to have Stamets, who's this scientist who just wants to achieve and be scientific, versus Book, who's this empath who has all these feelings, partnered with Burnham, who was raised in this logic process. Like, there's just, it just continued to appreciate all the ways in which it is about how we connect to each other as humans. It is about how we listen. It is about how we sit in patience and discover not only our path, but what is our path in relationship to the paths of others. And I guess lastly, I would say I agree with Satterfield in the chat. We hope one day that Signal Boost will also be able to pump the Badass Ladies Away Team hip hop track whenever it becomes available. And what I also believe about this show is that Discovery will give us another Badass Lady Away Team sometime soon, because this isn't the first, right? Commander Nan was in one of those very first Badass Lady Away teams. So I look forward to that and more as we continue to be in community with each other. And those were our final thoughts for Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 3, Choose to Live.
We hope you'll join us next week on Sunday, December 12th, when we talk about Season 4, Episode 4 of Star Trek Discovery, All is Possible, which premieres on Thursday, December 9th. Catch this and all episodes of Star Trek Discovery on Paramount+.
And we want to say thank you all so much for joining us at the Trek Table today. Don't forget you can get first look Trek Table questions, inside scoops, and more when you sign up for our mailing list at trektable.com.
Find Trek Table podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Like and subscribe to support this work and so that you can get more Trek Table in your algorithms.
Like and subscribe to us on Instagram at Trek Table and on Twitter at Trek_Table.
Continue the conversation with us by joining our new Discord channel. Search for Trek Table Community on Discord.
Yes, yes. And finally, I would love to say thank you so much. Gratitude is always about saying thank you to the people who make this possible. And I want to say thank you to our partners, the band Quetzal. Thank you for your amazing music each week, today and every day. And of course, I want to give much love and gratitude to this amazing Trek Table assembled. I want to say thank you, Maya Chinchilla. Thank you, Maya Mills Lowe. And thank you to our guests all the way from Honduras. Thank you, Lulu Matute. We are so grateful to you. Special shout out to our asynchronous video from Claudia. Thank you. Thank you. All our friends in the chat. Thank you all for holding and sharing your insights and thoughts with us today. As we really wrap this show, I want to just bring us back to what we were holding Trek Space for at the top of this show. Today, we were holding Trek Space for Book, Gray, Tilly, and Adira as they continue to forge their own path. We're holding Trek Space for educators and students in the home stretch of their learnings and trying to make their way in these wild, anomaly-like times. We're holding space for friendships, new and old, and the discernment to recognize when a path ends and the courage to move on when a new path, when that time comes. Our Trek Table production team includes the Trek Table executive producers, Allison Dela Cruz and Luzminda Jariwala, production coordinator Brendan Chang, stream manager Ariana Michelle, social media manager and chat moderator Isil Borlasa, and our social media associate Jimena Martinez.
Deep gratitude and thanks to Outside In Theater, with extra thanks to Paul, Matt, Danny, and Tamlin.
And Jessica. And thanks to Dr. Deborah Carter, Doc Zulu, and Nancy Yap, and our partners at Visual Communications.
Yes, and we also want to say thanks to our content partners at Calling Up Justice.
Trek Table is a service mark of De La Projects, LLC.
Yes, and we want to say thanks so much, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this Trek Table episode number 35. We want to close this ritual for today. Let's go ahead and take one more closing breath. Let's go ahead and take a breath in and a breath out. Awesome. And we hope that you will join us again next Sunday, December 12th. Marie Ren Velez is going to be back, and so is Claudia Alec. We're going to join at December 12th at 4 o'clock right here on the Outside In Theater YouTube channel when we dive into Season 4, Episode 4 of Star Trek Discovery, All Is Possible. We will be holding Trek Space for you until then. Have a great week.